Hi guys, hi everybody, welcome to Cat Tarot, welcome to my channel. My name is Kat. So let me start first of all with very short housekeeping. I'm on vacay from the 1st to the 7th, so upon my return I will address the readings in order, which will be first urgent, then rush, then regular. And I expect that you're still going to get within the time that you have ordered. So be careful with ordering basically urgent during that week. Also, I won't be able to be contacted, so all of the messages will be returned on the 8th. So guys, also don't forget to join social media, and also remember that I have live on Saturdays. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. During the summer months, it's going to be bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks is going to be live. Also, if you're part of my mailing list, which you can go on my website to kind of sign yourself on, then you can get some notification as well. So lastly, guys, if you're new here, welcome. And if there is anything that really resonates with you, one statement, two, whatever, usually not everything resonates because this is a general reading, but if anything resonates, that means that message was meant for you. I also suggest that you check not only your sun sign but also your ascendant and your moon. That's going to give you better kind of like triptych to kind of pull all of things together. So this month, because as probably you can hear, I have horrifying allergies, so it's really hard for me to talk. I'm going to kind of like be more focused, maybe really quick 10 minutes within what YouTube recommends. And I'm going to start with astrology because you really liked it last month, and I'm also going to combine with tarot. So let's do that. Alright, so the astrological overview. The first significant astrologic event of July 2020 is a lunar eclipse, just like the previous month. Also, like the previous month, the eclipse happens on the 5th, but this time the Sun-Moon opposition is on the Cancer-Capricorn axis, which basically foretells certain situations, and they usually relate to career, or to home, or family. And these situations are either going to reach resolution or some kind of climax. So that keeps it in mind, right? It's kind of like that huggy feeling, but it's also there is like an ambition connecting to it. So many of us might deal with events or situations that put our emotional maturity to the test. And this is like being like a little baby, kind of like, I want this, I want this. So, but if you catch yourself doing that, you go, oh, that's what it is. I'm not completely lost it, right? I didn't completely lose it, right? So many of us may deal kind of like with the situation that we will be tested if we have ability to persevere on our chosen path by honoring our families, but really also at the same time remaining independent from them. So in some cases, this energy of this lunar eclipse can spur an epiphany kind of related to how our families have shaped and influenced choices we have made in our lives, right? Lannister always pays his debts. It's kind of like something that family kind of like ingrained inside of us. So some of us might even decide to make significant changes when it comes to our career or the direction in which our lives were going. And we might actually also reach conclusion that we have been going by the desires of our parents instead of following our own star, following our own dreams. So maybe you want to look and transport yourself back 2 years, because there was like some kind of situation that started like 2 years ago, and now it's ending. It's making room for new directions to go in. So this Sun-Moon opposition happens around the lunar nodes, and they are situated on Gemini-Sagittarius axis, which suggests the need to free ourselves from that obsolete kind of thing. It's sort of like beliefs or dogmas and something we keep repeating, but it's kind of like you're wondering, like, how do I really connect with this, right? And especially if you have South Node in Sagittarius, which is kind of like being that master in the past life and now needing to communicate it in Gemini, right? So in order to embrace these new ideas, which is that North Node in Gemini, maybe it is a time to ask ourselves what really family means to us. what really happy family is. Hello? Anybody read Anna Karenina? And also whether we can regard society as a whole as a larger family, as part of which we all should contribute. So this guy is really age of Aquarius coming on. Everything that you're seeing outside, it's kind of need for equality. Sometimes the pendulum swings one way too much, but the whole point is understanding that we all want the same. You and the next person, you all want the same. You want happiness, you want love, you want peace. Yeah, maybe one person can have better shoes than the other one, but how important that really is, right? Because the circumstances that we are going to see on a social level can be a sort of a buildup of frustration, and that's why we see this manifestation of unrest, right? So until July 22nd, 2020, lots of twos, 222020, so 4 of them. The Sun transits Cancer. So that's basically also, there's Mercury until July 12th. So this is kind of like we need to deal with that retrograde as well. So throughout the month, the Sun and Mercury are in opposition to these other retrograde planets from Capricorn. So like, I mean, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. So as a result, we will notice that it's not quite easy to find a balance between a private and professional lives. Many of us are working from home, and this could be pandemic kind of like imposed, or it could be that you're self-employed and you really have to figure out how to motivate yourself when you're sort of like not, especially if you're extrovert, where you kind of like need other people, how to draw that energy when you're like kind of like withdrawn or secluded, right? So it might be tensions with family members or higher ups, so kind of like no time to kind of like make these big waves, but discussions have a great chance of proving to be really productive, provided that we are patient enough. Cancer is one patient sign. So happy birthday, Cancers. If I'm forgetting to say that, it is your time, and it is really amazing how one sign can encompass both this like kind of come to my heart, come, and shrewdness about focusing and chasing your own goals. So let's go back also to that retrograde planets in Capricorn, that are Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, but Mars is still in Aries, and this is its own domicile. So just think about, you came home. You're not anymore at Aunt's house. You no longer have to dress for breakfast. You no longer kind of like have to comb your hair and everything. You can kick and do whatever you want, right? So as of the end of the previous month, 27th, and it has the opposite effect, right? So as a result, we are really confident in our own devices, and sometimes this is too much. You see people who you think like, oh, you really shouldn't be confident, but it's kind of like ultimately a good thing, because we all are kind of like walking that perch, and we all are going to face our own demons. So there is no need for us to correct anybody, right? And it's going to be really strong need for novelty and pioneering, and we might run into obsolete system. So I don't know, maybe your grandparents will want you to kind of like check their, what was this, like 8-track or something, kind of like hilarious. So kind of like, again, advice is just be patient, guys, in this situation. So keep in mind that, you know, during the near future, we can progress without keeping in mind the past, right? So for some of us, this might be a right time to resume some older projects that we have been postponing for whatever reason. So Mars is the one that gives us the desire to see this project through, and also gives us that dose of boldness which we have been missing in the past. So socially, however, there might be a buildup of frustrations and tensions that might trigger a conflict. It would be like, blah, like I always wanted to tell you, but blah, it's all out there, right? And so it can trigger that conflict, and it can blow up as of August 2020. That's when Mars will square with the planet situated in Capricorn, right? During this term, it's more important than ever to carefully weigh Our every decision, gesture, and word, whatever you're talking about love life, sex life, professional projects, your social life, whatever, right? We should always keep in mind the long-term consequences and even remember the mistakes of the past so we don't make them again. Yeah, we usually remember that later. So during this term, saving graces can be professionalism, a responsible attitude, all kind of like we have to thank to Cancer for teaching us all of that, and also the ability to come up with long-term strategies. We also shouldn't feel obligated to solve all issues at once or the same moment, the same day. So since Mars spends a lot of time in its domicile sign, so it's usually spending 6 weeks, and now it's spending whopping 6 months, right? It's going to be also in retrograde motion in September, in the fall, right? So everything we now initiate is likely to go through an ample process of remaking and redefining a couple of months from now, because that's what happens in retrograde. You're looking, like, did I switch the light off? Did it, like, you're checking yourself a little bit, right? So do not rush it, right? Then we also have conjunction of Mars and Chiron, July 12th to 16th, which points out the fact that in some of our lives, some older issues and frustrations might come to light when we thought them long gone, right? We can make the most of the energy of this conjunction in order to become aware of the wounds that trigger an aggressive self-defense mechanism. Conjunction means they're really, really close, right? 2 degrees close. So almost like in the sky, they look like they're hugging, kind of a thing, right? So this is also kind of like finding a way toward healing. And by doing that, again, as I said, we are all connected. You have to keep others in mind too, right? So don't kind of like think, oh, I got hurt, I'm going to make you suffer as well. That's not going to work unless you want to kind of bring some really negative karma points on you, right? So Mars also, because now we have Mars in Aries and Venus in Gemini, so very flirty, very aggressive, right? So socially, it's going to be kind of like bursting. It's going to be open and it's going to be daring, and maybe getting a chance to build new connections. I guess stay safe as I'm saying this, but this simply, many of us will forget that kind of like word of caution, right? So the effects of the Mars-Venus combo also mean good news for those who are involved in older or even newer relationships, because they can easily kind of like evade the day-to-day rut and come up with really smart comeback that create a desire for flirting and goofing around, right? It's like usually when we really need to say something, clever, like we get stuck and then we say something boring and go, I had this opportunity. Why did I kind of like lose it, right? Also keeping in mind that at the same time, possessive or codependent people, or some of those people who decide, nope, I'm not going to change. Oh, sweet negative me, I'm going to be this way, what it is. They're going to feel completely out of base. They're going to feel really weirded out. It's going to be really super easy to spot them, almost as if all the lights are shining on them, and not in a good way, right? Because the energy of this term favors relationships in which partners know how to allow each other space and freedom of thought, right? So that's much so far, guys, and let's go in the individual signs and see how, in addition, that spiritually Taurus, you are next. So let's check your tarot reading in addition to the astrological forecast. All right, Taurus. The bottom of the deck, it's 5 of Pentacles reversed, and look at this, you also have Ace of Pentacles sitting right here. So there is like some kind of like apprehension about your finances, or apprehension about the sense of belonging. And Pentacles are really important that they're showing up, because for your sign, feeling comfortable and feeling if you wish rich, whatever rich means to you doesn't mean you have to be a billionaire, because not everybody is going to amount to that. But for you to feel the comfort and coziness that rich people and poor people equally can feel when in that situation is going to be very, very important, right? But this is also going on to stabilization of some sort and setting up new projects and setting up new vision and kind of like going in that new direction. If that didn't scare you, it scared me. So now when the tiger is kind of like okay with other dogs passing by, we can continue. So this is about that July, things going forward. There is like this Cancer coming through. So whether or not you have a Cancer, it's going to be emotional, it's going to be tension, it's going to need strategy, it's going to need something to move forward. This can mean like, look guys, if you're not patient, if you rush things, you're going to drive this car right in the ditch, whatever it is that you want. So it is really important to kind of like reassess situation. And more important is to reassess it from the standpoint of we all, instead of like me, I need this, I want to kind of go in this direction, because that for sure is a recipe for failure. So avoid that. This is another 7, so I have a 7 and 7 pattern is already emerging. There is like very spiritual thing for you. This really means if something hasn't been set up properly, if something hasn't been done in a way that is either dignified or, you know, with humility, with understanding, it's going to really kind of like put things in a position where some change will be really needed. The Tower card is something that makes us kind of like make decision rather quickly. Just imagine you're falling off the big building and you shouldn't be thinking in that moment about washing the dishes or what you're going to prepare for lunch. You literally have to look left and right and to see what you can kind of like make out of the situation to save yourself. In this situation, like everybody is like landing, but where do you land and how do you land? It really depends on that agility and that ability to do that, because this is clearly telling you that, oh my gosh, it's also clear warning with driving to all of you that guys, you need to make sure that your vehicle is super duper good shape, that your tires have the air in, you have a gas, because this also combination can indicate issues with the vehicle, but it can also indicate, as I said, some kind of changes, big changes that are going to be happening, and you might be settled with them, so you might not even have a choice. You'll just simply have to roll with the punches or go with the flow. But this is not necessarily a bad thing. Tower, after all, is landing in a good kind of like place. Is saying, okay, look at this devastation. But guess what? From this point on, we can only go on up and up and up. So let's rebuild it properly. Now there is like the 6 of Pentacles, and this is kind of like going in the same kind of like tune with this. This was 5 and 6, and now it's coming to that 6, which is kind of like, who do I really want to share things with? And maybe this is what is this all about. Maybe you came a little bit too intense because of all of the situation we're going through, uncertainty, and you kind of like erected the walls. And now this is basically saying, like, make a choice. And sometimes when we give this energy, like you see when you give $1, and I always, no matter where the person is, when they're begging for money, I give. It can be a very small amount, but I do give. That makes me feel good. It makes them feel good in that moment. But what is the most important? The energy is there that, hey, I can afford to give. I can kind of like engage in that energy. This is what this is all about. This is like a measured giving. This is kind of like understanding that you can do it, which you're telling to the universe, please open up these gates. I need as well. And this is going to happen to you. That's what it says. If you give, you're going to get, right? Please, and you shall be ask, and it shall be given to you, right? But here it is, give, and it will be given to you, right? Wow, look at this, more pentacles. This is like 7 of Pentacles. Yes, you probably looked with terror, 777. You looked with terror like probably during the month of June, like things are not evolving in the way you wanted, things are not progressing, kind of like in a direction where you kind of like felt you would be. Maybe that was like a slower month monetarily, financially. Maybe you needed to kind of like sell some investments or stocks. Maybe you wanted to sell something, you didn't get as much as you wanted. And this is also kind of like all indicating a kind of like a little bit of pullback, that certain things are going to be reappearing from the past and come in the present. And then we have here 5 of Swords. So this is the first thinking card, in a sense that you want to win. You still are focused on to, I need to get ahead. And this is kind of like a card among the swords where the kitty is completely clueless, right? He did win. He did win. He took the swords from everybody, and he is like really enjoying his own fame, but it's only in his own head. The truth is, he did win, but he did win by taking something, by putting somebody down. And this can be only in our 3D world that we live in, because the other guy is not forgetting it, right? So this is now the second 5. And 5s are bringing instability, and they're bringing instability because they're like something that we need to absorb. Like we are going from the stabilization in stage number 4 to complete destabilization. So you're standing on the chair and somebody pulls the rug and you're falling off this freaking chair. Here you manage to recoup yourself really quickly, but instead of like really seeing how everybody else is doing, you're just thinking about yourself. So there's like something saying over here that be kind of careful how you approach it, because this is also about victory. It is really telling you that your methods are going to be really questioned this month. So then you have another pentacle. You have Knight of Pentacles, and it's reversed. It's something that maybe has been evolving very slow, because after all is mirroring the 7, it's going even slower. And the more you want to faster, the slower it's going to go, as long as it's not positioned properly. And that's maybe the Tower for you. You really want something, and it's telling you you need to just step into that energy, and the universe, God, wherever is the placement there for you, Spirit, is going to do it for you. You kind of like a fixed sign. It takes one to know one, and you really want to do it yourself. You're really adamant about it. And there is like another 5. And this is falling in your own house. This is another thing about setting boundaries of what you want. But look, as you're arguing, as you're setting boundaries, you're trying to win, the point, this little mousey here, will escape. The point is here that you have to figure out what is important and who is important. So let's see that environment for you. It's 7 of Swords. And these are fellows in crime, these 2 cards. Because look at the swords that are really showing up. It's another 7. So this is, which one we don't have? I think we don't have 7 of Cups so far, right? So 7 of Swords is about somebody, it's interesting, it's about the patience over here, and it's about somebody doing something right under your nose, but what they're doing is not something that you want. So it's kind of like feeling, this person is feeling that you're taking advantage of them, because that's in your environment. This is not you, but that is the perception of it, right? It could be some kind of like status quo in a relationship or a situation. This even could be your boss. It could be simply that you feel that somebody wants an upper hand on you, but it could be somebody just like that was like one of these 2 kind of individuals here, that they feel that got very screwed by you, right? And they may be holding this grudge for many days, months, weeks, even years. So 7 of Swords is generally the card about reclaiming what is yours, but it's also a card about needing to face your own truth. In your case, it looks like that somebody's going to tell you something, and you are not going to open the door unless you really learn this lesson of 6 over here, right? Nope. no charities, you're not giving anything. Off you go. Bye bye, bye bye. I'm not saying that you just have to give left and right. It can be just one thing or two things and in very small amounts, but it's done with pleasure. It's not done because Cat said so. It's opening up that new energy, which you actually really know how to deal with. You're like sort of masters of that energy, but now you just kind of like climb up, and the energy is saying, anybody home? Knock knock. Anybody home? And you're saying, off you go, I'm good, I'm winner. No, you're not winner. You're all kind of like stuck in that little shell. You need to get out more often. And this is hopes and fears. And look at these swords. It's kind of like going through your head, right? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? You are maybe very thorn, but look at this. Kitty is blindfolded. And it's going through this like a moon over here, right? And it's kind of like trying to weigh pros and cons of the situation. This is really good, because if you're so stubborn, as I see over here, it's going to be something that, somebody needs to really rock you to kind of like get you to some kind of like sense. This means that you're getting into this essence of, okay, I better think about it. It's kind of like introspection. It's kind of like understanding yourself and how far you can go and how far you shouldn't go. Aries also got this card in the same position, so whether or not there is like some connection that you have with Aries sign, or this is a card that talks about, you see this is connecting now to this card because they are two wands. It's talking about, okay, where do I go? Who are my friends? What do I want to accomplish? This is like a starting point. The Mars is activating you, and Mars is activating really different houses. For you, it looks like it's going to be your sense of well-being. Like, look at all of these pentacles that you have. And when your self of well-being is affected, you go in self-protection mode. And nothing wrong about that. It's absolutely good to kind of have this fortress, but the fortress is burning. So self-protection mode is futile if you really wish during this term. So it really needs to be done. It's saying slowly. It's saying like you cannot rush things, but you also you have to set your boundaries, how far you're willing to go, how much you can give, but also kind of like understanding that it has to be some kind of flow. You will be kind of like choosing people around you. Just do not choose them according to what they do for you. Rather choose them according to if they are able to push you to become a better person. And then you're going to set your eye on some bigger goals, on some kind of like bigger things, and you might even make some kind of investments that might be very, very beneficial. Anything up to the 12th, I would say be very, very careful. After the 12th, keep going, because then the horizon is opening up. Be open to criticism, hear it, absorb it, listen to it, process it, see what you can do with that, because that ability to really see how somebody else feels is really connecting you with the outside world, which is what you want, because that outside world has to return that energy back to you. So what will you do, Taurus? I can't wait to hear. So guys, if any of this resonated, please subscribe or like. I would really appreciate that. Also, if you like a reading with me, visit me on my website, cattarot.ca. Love you. All the best.